masses, just like witches at black masses.
Good morning and welcome to KTZed Redemption, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. And even with a change in the intro music, it's still always morning even in the afternoon, because in spite of everything that's going to happen here and everything that they tell us is going to happen, and we'll talk just a bit about that later on, we have got to press on a very, very interesting week of, well, a lot of war talk, and a lot of people not believing what the fuck is going on here. So, with that, we've got to get right into it. My name is Jay Edgar, and I am joined, as always, by the wonderful KTZed. Katie, how was your week?
Pretty good. Still trucking along.
Interesting thought about trucking along here, because I sent you an article before we went live, and it looks like some aspects of the convoy we're going to talk about later are not trucking along anymore.
Yeah.
But we definitely will talk about that here. This has been interesting, and you talked about it in the live chat. I talked about it on air this morning. But I mean, this whole thing with Ukraine, I don't know what to believe.
You've been lied to so many times, it's hard to believe anything from those people.
That's absolutely fair, but I mean, I'm looking at some of this strategically, and I play a lot of war games too. Like, I know you don't really care for video games, but I play StarCraft, which is basically a general simulator. Like, you're the general of the army, and you command your units where to go. And I mean, if I set up an attack the way that Russia did, there was no way. Like, I would wipe out the enemy force instantly.
I like board games, and I played Risk. I understand.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same kind of idea. So we're going to be talking about that. The majority of the show is going to be talking about the Ukraine, unfortunately, because there was some other stuff that I think would have interested us otherwise. Like, we could have sat down, we could have talked about Ghislaine, we could have talked about the George Floyd officers this week, which both of those have their own lightning round articles, but it's just because there's been so much that's crammed down our throats about the Ukraine. We're going to talk about that, all that and more. So let's just have a quick review of what it is that we are going to be going through today. Of course, Russia has invaded the Ukraine. Officially, it looks like they are coming up on Kiev right now. They can't seem to quite take Kiev or Kharkiv either, which I don't know why. Like I said, with all the preparation they had, that should have, in my eyes, that all should have been over in a day. But we'll talk a bit about what's going on there, some of the footage that's come around there, some of the stuff that we don't believe, some of the stuff that we do believe, and the talks that are coming up here today that looks like they may have actually fallen apart here. So we'll talk just a bit about that. If, unfortunately, and I have to say if we can get through this and still have some time left on the program, Biden has made a nomination officially. Ketanji Brown Jackson is going to be the Supreme Court nominee, and we'll talk just a bit about what that means, what's going on with that, what her record looks like, and what I think that Republicans could, if I can talk today, what Republicans should do versus what I think that they are going to do. So, a couple things will happen there. The trucker saga. It's going to
be a long show if you don't learn how to talk, Ed.
Yeah. The trucker saga is finishing up right now in the Canada side, and it's just starting on our side. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. And honestly, that's the other thing that really bothers me. And I would have loved to have this be the main story of the week. And if it hadn't been for Ukraine, it probably would be. But I don't believe any of the reasons of why they're trucking right now, because we don't have mandates over here. But we'll talk just a bit about that over here on KTZed Redemption. Thanks for checking us out live over on YouTube, over on DLive, over on Twitch, and over on Twitter, if you can find our Twitter here. I am going to be adding a couple new platforms to that, and I'm going to see if I can figure out streaming on Rumble as well. So go and check that out. Go check out any of those platforms. They're all linked in the description. Or if you can't catch us live, you want to catch us on the go check us out over on YouTube, over on BitChute.com, and over on Rumble.com, the aforementioned, because even though we can't get live up there, Rumble is synced with my YouTube channel, and all of our uploads go automatically over to there, so you can go check us out there. Jay Edgar is the search for that, so go check that out. You find the blue spiral globe, you found us, and yeah, go check it out. It's a better platform than YouTube. I've been using it a little bit more. It's a little bit more stable than BitChute, too, by the way. So definitely go back and check that out. That is going to be a good time over there. And If you want to go check out some other great creators, go check out turnspagesproductions.com. Still at a start page right now, but go check out the start page. And also, upcoming, I do have to figure out how to scrub my government name off the front of the Give, Send, Go, but there is a live Give, Send, Go right now. Some of you on the inner circle have access to that right now. I haven't been very public with it yet because I do need to get in contact with them and get that taken care of, so... But go check out the Give, Send, Go as well. It's going to be a great time, and go help us out. Go help out the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, a new upcoming project with Britt and Sean Hickman. I'm very much looking forward to that if that gets up off the ground, and the Porch Boys as well. So go check out all those programs. It is going to be a great time. All right, and with that, I think we got to get down into it because we have got a lot of stuff to go over here. And of course, we used a very, very long intro music segment here, so we're sitting up here, and the intro music is still going even after everything here, which, I mean, it's good. It means I've got my intro cut down a little bit here.
It's a good song. It's all right.
It is, but we do have to get down into it, get off of this. So let me get that set up. Let's get the lightning round set up and ready to go. That's not the lightning round. That's the Ukraine. I don't want that. Where's my lightning round? There it is. All right. Let's get into it. So we are going to start today talking about, well, it's midterms coming up here, and, you know, there wasn't a lot of news coming up here, but there are candidates out there that are, you know, just the kind of candidates that you need to sit there and you need to talk about here. I know I just got blocked by a candidate from North Carolina from 2020 earlier on. I told you about that a little bit off mic.
Oh yeah, I did a little Twitter stalking on that guy.
Yeah, is he as much of a fuckstick as I thought that he was?
Yes, definitely for sure.
All right. Well, with that, we do have to talk about one that is active for this year. A U.S. House candidate allegedly went on a drunken tirade and vomited at a preteen sleepover. This is from the New York Post. An Oklahoma Democratic congressional candidate is under fire for allegedly verbally attacking several preteen girls while at the home of a friend who was hosting a sleepover with multiple middle school girls present. Abby Broyles, a candidate for Oklahoma 5, went to a friend's house on February 11th and became more and more aggressive as she continued to drink wine throughout the night, according to nondoc.com. Say that one 5 times fast.
I can't even say it once.
Apparently neither can I. She allegedly called one girl acne fucker and hurled multiple insults at other girls as well. Hispanic fucker, she went on, judgy fucker. So apparently it was just that she said fucker all over again and changed the qualifier off of this. Now, she is denying this. She is saying that she was out of town on a fundraising trip, but, you know, I don't know because I wasn't there. What do you think?
I mean, it's kind of weird that she's saying she's not even there, and there's multiple witnesses, I assume, that have her there.
That could be.
Yeah. I'm so jaded at this point. I don't know what to believe. I don't believe anything anybody says ever.
Yeah, and I don't know about this either. This does seem, well, and coming on the Democrat side, she would be among good company among drunk wine moms. You know.
Well, and even if this did happen, I don't even think I really care that much. You know?
Well, yeah, it's out of our district, but it was big enough to make national news, so I thought it would be fun.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying if somebody was hurling, like I don't know if you've been around me after I've had a couple of drinks. I swear a lot. The cussing doesn't bother me.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're having a lag on your internet here, but it does look like you're lagging a little bit in image and breaking up just a little bit, and I can see your indicator too is showing yellow and sometimes red. So
no.
We will press on, and if we lose you,
Yes.
we'll figure it out. But we will press on here. Yeah, just with this,
if I drop, I'll jump back on as fast as I can.
Okay. And I mean, with this, when we look at something like this too, I mean, like I said, she would be in good company with the other wine moms like Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren and Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi. She'd be in good
she'd
company.
Fit right in with all of them, for sure.
All right, so let's talk Tulsi here for just a little bit. Tulsi Gabbard is apparently maybe in the process of switching sides. I don't know. But she is supposedly spoke at CPAC this week. Now, I didn't pay attention to any of the PACs, or either one of the PACs. I know Stephen was there, but with the Ukraine thing, that took most of my attention, and that did wind up having to get cut for time. But the Hill decided that they had to come out and breathlessly report the fact that Tulsi Gabbard was going to be over at CPAC. They go on to report former Rep. Tulsi Gabbard is set to speak at the Conservative Political Action Conference this week. The chair of the group that organizes the gathering announced on Monday. Gabbard, who once sought the 2020 presidential nomination, will address the annual conference's Ronald Reagan dinner on Saturday night. Conservative media personality Glenn Beck is set to give the keynote address during the dinner, which I guess I don't know if I'm really that surprised anymore, because she has dug her claws into a lot of progressive Democrats here, and honestly, I think there's a level of enemy of my enemy is my friend going on here. I don't trust it, but I think that there's a level of that going on.
Yeah, I think if I was a Democrat, Tulsi would be my girl. I go back and forth about how I feel about her. Some days I like her, some days I don't. But you know how I feel about women in politics. So.
Well, I do like that she's anti-war. I like the fact that she goes and sharpens her claws into some of these political elite that think that they're untouchable. I like those aspects. But I know
there's like 10 aspects I don't like about her that matches with that one. Sorry about the mic thing. But like she's not pro Second Amendment. She's pro-abortion. Like I can't get on board with that stuff.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, she's terrible on economic policy. She's terrible on guns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but she hates war.
Sure.
All right. But that's what we have off of that. Rittenhouse got in the news this week, so we're gonna watch a video of this here that I got from Instagram. So let's get the volume up on that. Playing Instagram on the computer is a pain in the ass, by the way. From a producer standpoint, I know you don't do the producer side of it, but playing Instagram video is a pain in the giant fucking prick.
It's worth it for Rittenhouse, though. I love Rittenhouse.
Yeah, let's listen to what Rittenhouse had to say.
The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent. That's power.
That white supremacist 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse.
A 17-year-old vigilante, arguably a domestic terrorist.
Kyle Rittenhouse, a militiaman wannabe.
President Joe Biden, who used a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse as a white supremacist.
Is absolutely white supremacy.
You're innocent, but do you feel vindicated?
I feel like justice was served. There's going to be some accountability coming.
White supremacist trials. You've got Rittenhouse.
Hate, disrespect, and intolerance.
Point of fact, the only bigot on the scene appears to have been Joseph Rosenbaum, the child rapist. And yet it's Kyle Rittenhouse who Joe Biden accused of being a white supremacist on the basis of no evidence whatsoever. And let's hope at some point he gets sued for that.
Who will be held accountable?
You are the enemy of the people.
So this is Rittenhouse announcing the Media Accountability Project. Reading from the New York Post, Kyle Rittenhouse launches initiative to combat lies from the media outlets and personalities. Rittenhouse, the 18-year-old acquitted in the deadly shootings during last year's unrest in Kenosha, said he plans to sue news organizations and personalities for spreading lies against him. Me and my team have decided to launch the Media Accountability Project as a tool to help fundraise and hold the media accountable for the lies they said and deal with them in court. I don't want to see anybody else have to deal with what I went through, he told Tucker, adding that, which, by the way, the fact that he's going to Tucker with this kind of, I don't know about that, but adding that he's looking at quite a few.
Yeah. When he started, he wasn't bought, but right now he is. But I don't even care because this is what needs to happen.
Yeah. He is looking at quite a few politicians, celebrities, and athletes. Whoopi Goldberg is on the list. So I kind of want to see where this goes.
So is Cenk.
So is Cenk.
Yeah. I'm very excited about this. I actually was listening in on the Twitter chat or whatever the talkie Twitter thing is. There's a name for it. But him and Carl Sandman were on the same call in one of those. And it was very interesting. I think I think this is a great thing. We need to hold the media accountable. And these people were talking about him being a murderer when he was a child. He was still a kid when this all started. So if we can't hold him accountable at this point, there's nobody that they can go after anybody with no repercussions.
Sorry, I gotta take care of
Am
something
I still
here.
dropping off?
No, you're not dropping off.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I gotta do something here before we get shut down over on Twitch. So.
Oh, what's a Twitch ban between friends? We've all been through it.
There's never going to be a ban here. I said unless you're doxing, unless you're outright doxing, you're never going to get banned from this channel ever. But yeah, sometimes on language, yeah, I still on my first channel, still my original one, but
I'm usually your mod over on Twitch, but I'm here now, so I can't.
Yeah. All right, but that's what Rittenhouse is going here. So we got to watch on that one here. So let's keep going. This was interesting coming out of the Trump side. The two prosecutors leading the Manhattan DA's investigation into Trump has abruptly resigned. Reading into this, the two prosecutors leading the Manhattan DA's investigation into the Trump Organization abruptly resigned on Wednesday, the New York Times first reported. A spokesperson for the DA's office confirmed the resignations to insiders, saying, "We're grateful for their service. The investigation is ongoing. We can't comment further." The resignations from the two prosecutors, Kerry Dunn and Mark Pomerantz, reportedly came after the new DA, Alvin Bragg, expressed doubts about moving forward with a case against the former president. Which is telling me, of course, that this is probably going to be one where there isn't a bunch of shit going on. Like, I'm looking at this right now, and I don't think they have the case that they think, or that the media is telling them that they do.
No, why else? Why? There's no other reason for these guys just to peace out,
And it's,
if the case was there, they wouldn't have just left.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. And I know this is on the criminal side, and a lot of this is sealed, and the mainstream media is not going to come back out here and yell about this either, unless, of course, they've got the slam dunk, smoking gun, this, that, and the next thing. And I know we talked last week about the fact that, he's got to go testify in the civil side, but, that's a lawsuit.
Speaking of the civil side, I did look into that a little bit after our conversation in the chats last week, and they can plead the fifth. However, it also can be used against them if they do. Like in a criminal case, you can plead the fifth and it's not used against you. In a civil case, you can not talk, but that you not talking can be held against you. So it's not, it's that you're not talking. It's not that you're pleading the fifth, if that makes sense.
Give me just 1 second here. I got to go adjust something here.
Okay. I'll just keep talking about it.
All right.
So that's why people tend to speak more in civil cases, because if you don't talk about it, then they can say, "Oh, well, he must be hiding something."
Yeah, and that's one of the things too that goes with that is, well, and they try to do that in the criminal side of it too, but it doesn't work because
it's illegal to do it on the criminal side.
Mm-hmm. But that's what we see off of that, so I'm sure that's going to kick into full swing at some point here. Did you see some of the rhetoric that came back about this particular thing, especially? Like, well, somebody go check their bank account. Somebody go see what they got paid. Yeah.
I have not seen that, but it doesn't surprise me. Does that, at this point, does that actually surprise you that that's what's being said?
Oh, yeah. I knew for a fact that was going to be the first thing that went off with this, of course, is, that's the exact first thing. Oh, well, Trump is coming out. He's paying all these people off to go and not to go not pursue this. Go check these new people's bank accounts. I'm sure that they're in the pocket of Trump and Giuliani and this and that. Next thing was like,
yeah.
Or maybe you just have a shitty case.
Exactly. It can be explained so easily by the fact that there's absolutely no case here. So, they're gonna dig and scratch and try to peel back any wounds that they can, but there's not gonna be anything to find. So it's not gonna make a difference.
Well, and not only that, but when you move that large sum of money, I know that they try to say, oh, shadow puppets and corporation, this and that next thing. It's usually pretty obvious when you move that amount of money.
Yeah.
It's
Plus,
hard to hide
people are
that.
stupid. People are stupid, and they're going to go out and buy a Ferrari.
Yes. So we will continue to watch that as it goes. Some news on the "Don't Say Gay" bill, quote unquote, coming up out of Florida now. As of, I believe it was Friday, this is officially passed, but that didn't stop people from jumping on here and telling us what it is that they believe this is actually in here. And again, we read this full page on Contemporary, all 4 pages of it. But let's listen to what Human Rights Watch has to say about it.
Hi, quick question. Do you think it's okay to talk about being LGBT in schools? Well, apparently in Florida, they don't think so. Because a Florida committee just advanced this bill that would limit discussions of sexual orientation and gender identity in schools. The bill would outright ban discussing these issues in primary school and then restrict how they're discussed in other grades if they're deemed not age appropriate. But it doesn't specify what age appropriate means or who decides. This sort of ambiguity will allow parents to potentially sue their child's schools if they believe these discussions occurred, and it makes it harder to create safe spaces for LGBT students. But there's more. The bill also requires school personnel to notify parents if there's changes in students' mental, emotional, or physical health or well-being. On the surface, this seems reasonable enough, but in reality, it's likely to limit the ability of teachers and counselors to be a confidential resource for students, especially LGBT students who may not feel comfortable or safe asking their family questions about sexual orientation or gender identity. If you want proof, HRW documented how curricular restrictions harm LGBT youth in the US. Not only does this bill prevent students from accessing information essential to their health and well-being, it also sends the message that being LGBT is inappropriate or wrong. Teachers shouldn't fear punishment for celebrating diversity, and kids should know that being LGBT is okay.
Go ahead.
No, absolutely not. We should not be talking about any sex stuff in school ever. It's for the parents to discuss with the children, not anybody else, especially not in school. This is just ridiculous. And I mean, I guess I have had a different upbringing as far as my younger years than most people because I went to a private Catholic school. But we didn't talk about any sex stuff at all. Abstinence, that's it. And I turned out fine. So let's just do that from now on. Like, it's not even the gay stuff. It's just the sex stuff in general should not be discussed.
Well,
at all.
I do, and I know that especially after the political compass test, I am a little bit more liberal than you are in some of these. And I don't have a problem, like, especially if somebody comes up and raises their hand and say, hey, can we talk about this in a class where they have the discussion, but on an age-appropriate level, like you said. Like, I'm saying 9th grade and up. But before that, no, there's no reason for sex. I don't disagree with you. And this is coming from somebody who, well, I'm not going to go into that, but regardless, it's the only problem that I have with limiting it out in the upper grades is because there's so much societal discussion about this, and it does affect the society. So you do take some of the sociological aspects about, like, not talking about put this there, or this is how you pee, or this is, but like, okay, this is how the agenda affects your society. And, especially because I took a social problems class senior year, I think in today's world, if I was a senior now, that would definitely be something to come up and to be debated and discussed, is the way the agenda is affecting the world. And something like this would limit that. But that's why I'm saying an age-appropriate side. But again, like 8th grade and younger, no, there's no reason for that.
No. If I understand what you're saying about high school or whatever, but if we can't pass out Bibles or Korans for that matter, or Torahs or whatever in high school, we should not be passing out sex education books.
Yeah.
You can't. It's against
I
the
think
Bible.
We're coming at this
it's
from
against God.
I think we're coming at this from two different.
Happening.
I think we're coming at this from two different directions, though. Because you're talking about like I said, the actual put that there. sex education part of it. I'm talking about the societal, like, again, the sociological aspect of it.
None of it should be discussed. What should be discussed is a man and a woman get married and you have babies. That's it. End of story.
Mm-hmm. Well, we could
Class
bicker about this,
dismissed.
but we do have Ukraine to talk about here.
I will
so
fight with you all night about this.
I know that. Here's one from, I got a couple that are car related here because I am kind of a car guy here. CNBC reports that the U.S. Postal Service has moved ahead with a plan to spend billions of dollars on gas vehicles. So, especially during the Biden admin, one of the campaign promises was that they were going to eliminate gasoline and diesel from the USPS fleet and move it all into EVs, which the semis, that's not going to happen for quite a while. Because they don't have a powerful enough motor, reliable enough to go back and do this. But, I mean, for the LUVs, I don't see that as a huge problem except for the cost and the infrastructure. But actually having those vehicles out there with the capacity with Tesla and Rivian and everybody else making them, I don't see that as a huge problem except for the fact that, again, we don't have the infrastructure. And DeJoy has come out and spent 90% of his budget on gas vehicles for this year.
Is it the only thing I care about? I don't care if we're using gas or electric or whatever. The only thing I care about is, will it save the taxpayers money to switch to electric? If it will not, then keep using the gas. That's really period, end of story. Like, don't be spending all this money on electric cars for what environmental clout, I guess you would call it, like for points from the from Greta Thunberg, you know,
which is what it is too. But the thing that always gets me, the thing that gets me, I was just going to
say, if overall it's going to save us money, then go ahead and do it. But if not, then we have plenty of gas here. Open up the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah. The one thing that gets me, and I like the way that Styx puts this in his videos when he talks about electric vehicles, is, you know, is he buying gas-powered cars or is he buying coal-powered cars? Because, you know, what makes the electricity? It ain't coming from solar in most places yet.
Sometimes wind, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, rarely solar.
So, and I do think that we could get to a point where, especially with a government fleet like this, we see a majority electric vehicles there because we'll have the infrastructure and our infrastructure will be energy efficient enough that we can get that there and charge them right away. But I'm sorry, we're not there yet, technologically. Yeah. It's a nice idea, and I think it's going to happen. I'm not going to be the kind of person that comes out and says, you know, this is never going to happen. We're going to stay with gas forever. No, it's going to happen. I just don't think we're technologically there yet.
It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a slow process.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got to keep going. What else do we have here? The red-haired bobblehead got in the news. The red-haired bobblehead got in the news a couple times this week, but there's talks right now that she might get picked up. She's supposed to be retiring from her post at this point, that she might fill Rachel Maddow's spot. Reading from the New York Post, White House Press Secretary red-haired bobblehead could reportedly replace Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. Reading on, the Biden admin sharp-elbowed, which I don't know what that means. White House Press Secretary red-haired bobblehead has emerged as the top candidate for Rachel Maddow's anchor chair, according to a new report. Bobblehead, who plans to leave the White House this year, is being courted by several news networks, including CNN and MSNBC, according to the newsletter Puck. Go ahead. I know you want to say something.
Oh, I was just sorry. My computer's messing up, so it's like people are gonna miss that dude if Rachel Maddow leaves. Like, people are definitely gonna miss that dude.
He already has.
Oh,
they're running reruns in that slot right now because Maddow took.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't have real TV. I just have the internet, so I don't get to watch very much MSNBC.
What a shame. No, Maddow took off 3 months ago? Not even that. It's been 2 months, I think. It's been a while. I guess I should
have been paying attention on Contemporary a little better. I probably would have known that, huh?
Yeah. They've been running reruns for a few weeks on MSNBC and Maddow's slot, and they're looking for somebody, and I think they're going to pick up the bobblehead, but CNN is also courting her. Could
you imagine how many flubs Peppermint Patty will have if she's just she doesn't have a script and she doesn't know what she's going to say. She's just talking. It'll be great. It'll be great content. It'll be great for us. That's all I'm saying.
Did you see the CPAC thing from this weekend that I didn't put on? But
oh yeah, the Peppermint Patty bit. Yeah.
Yeah, they ran off and asked her in the press room, like, are you offended that Ted Cruz called you Peppermint Patty? And then we actually listened to what he said, and he's like, he did say that, and I think that took away from the overall message. But his message is that Jen Psaki will get up there and, tell the lies of the Biden admin, and then he turns around and calls her Peppermint Patty. I'm like, okay, so everybody else in the world has forgotten the message that you just put out there because you had to throw a crude insult into it that I don't disagree with, but
I can remember from the first time she wore a green shirt, I was putting out Peppermint Patty memes. So I'm glad somebody saw those memes, and apparently it got to Ted Cruz. But it's funny how they just focus on what they want to focus on. They're never going to focus on the meat and potatoes of whatever the comment was. They're going to take the Peppermint Patty insult or the AOC's boyfriend's feet insult. They're not going to focus on what we're really saying because they have no comeback to that.
Right. The DeLorean is possibly coming. Well, it looks like it is coming back this year. Production will start before the end of 2022. This is from Italian outlet Domus. The DMC-12, better known as the DeLorean, will be back in 2022 as a fully electric sports vehicle. The DeLorean Motor Company has taken it to Twitter to announce the new deadline and release a teaser video of the new car. The current DMC has nothing to do with the company that originally manufactured the car made famous by Doc Brown and Marty McFly in the 80s. The brand was acquired in the late 90s by Stephen Wynn, a self-taught mechanic from Liverpool who emigrated to the US in 1980 and built his fortune repairing DeLoreans and other British and French cars. It looks like from some of the teaser images that we've seen that it is going to stay true to the original concept, like the original. It's going to look like a DeLorean, which I think is cool as fuck.
I like that. I hate it when they bring it back old, like the Volkswagen Bug, and it just looks weird. Like, yeah. I like it when they stick to the original like lines and angles and stuff.
I think that'd be cool, actually, because I found this. I sat down and watched all 3 movies over the last couple days.
For somebody who doesn't watch movies, you watch so many movies.
I have seen those movies a dozen times at least, each one of them. I love those movies. I love the culture aspect of it. It's not the sci-fi aspect, it's the culture. Like, hey, this is how I'd react if I met my dad back when he was in high school. I like that.
I mean, those movies almost predicted to the year the Cubs winning the World Series, so... I think that
against
was the
Miami.
Second one.
Yeah, it was the second one.
Yeah.
Here's a video for you. So a Texas middle school teacher got caught on video talking about how she feels about conservative Christian people. Let's listen to this one. Oops, gotta have volume on for that. Let's try that again. Apologize for being hard to hear.
We're vaccinating like the flu, which is, if flu vaccine is what, but you can't, don't tread on it.
Yeah, I think we need to put it. I think it needs to be put in. That's
very early. It would have had to have been immediate. If we had done it immediately, it already be gone. That's what's frustrating. The rest of our life is impacted because of politics, because of conservative. I'm telling you,
I'm going to see my boyfriend. Oh!
That last part was really hard to hear.
I couldn't hear what they were saying hardly throughout the whole thing, so just give me a TLDR.
So, and I don't blame you for that because it was really hard to hear because it was being recorded on a cell phone from across the hall. The teacher, unnamed at this point, looked out, was talking about the fact that, she's saying that we need to vaccinate like the flu, but don't tread on me. And then at the end, she turned around and said, and what needs to happen to these conservative Christians is they need to get COVID and die. But in the midst of it, the other 2 teachers tried to basically change the subject as quick as they possibly could.
I bet they did.
Well, you heard it. Like Like, in the middle of her saying this, the other one's like, "Oh, I'm going to see my boyfriend this weekend." And the other one,
did
"Oh,
hear
is
that
the one you
part
met on
loud and
eHarmony?"
clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did hear that part loud and clear. What's funny is the conservatives are getting COVID and they're getting natural immunity and they're not dying because they're healthier and they're stronger and they can fight it off by themselves. They don't need no vaccines.
Right.
Not all, obviously. I shouldn't have to put a caveat on shit, but apparently I do. Not all, but every single conservative that I know that's gotten COVID is fine. And they have that sweet, sweet immunity.
And I mean, the other side of it too, and I've said this before. I mean, when W dies, I'm probably going to dance on his grave. But I hope he lives a long and happy life where he gets to see the tortured images of the kids that he blew up in the Middle East to do so.
Well,
I don't wish him harm, but I'm still going to
not-
celebrate when he kicks off.
If we're not bombing brown kids, what are we doing?
Apparently bombing Ukrainian kids.
Bombing white kids.
I don't think they care about the color of the skin. It's equal opportunity at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just to hear those two teachers, they were trying their damnedest to get this subject changed. And update from today, and I didn't put the article in, but update from today, that teacher has resigned.
Resigned.
Yeah.
Okay. She resigned so she can keep her benefits. She's probably tenured, is going to be paid by the school district the rest of her life.
Possibly. Some Maxwell news. The judge has denied a new trial for Ghislaine Maxwell, pending an additional testimony from jurors. So the matter is not dead yet, but as of right now, there is a denial of a new trial, and they're going to be having a hearing on the... what was I saying? On the... wow, I just lost my train of thought completely. They'll be having a hearing on the testimony that was given by the juror number 50, over whether or not he is eligible to sit on this jury because, well, he is in a situation where he has, he apparently allegedly lied on his questionnaire. Did you look into this at all? This is your
I did, and
wheelhouse
I
here.
just, yeah, I don't, like the question that was asked is, have you or anybody that you know or have ever known ever been sexually harassed or sexually assaulted? It was something so broad that there's no single person on the planet that could answer no to this. So the fact that he answered no should have been a red flag right there. I'm sure here's what I want to know. Were the other jurors that were seated on the jury, did they answer no to that question as well?
That I don't know. What I do know is that he was adamant. He went on TV after this and said that it's his testimony about the fact that he told people about a past sexual abuse that swayed some of the jurors.
I think that if it wasn't a requirement to be on this jury, if it wasn't an automatic, you know how some questions it's an automatic, like you're out, like, you know, jury nullification knowledge and stuff like that. It's just you're out. If this was not one of those questions in this case, then nothing should change. This verdict should stand. But if this was one of the questions where if they answered no or answered yes to this, they were automatically out of the jury pool, then we can talk about it. You know, then I think we needed a whole new trial.
Yeah. Do you think there will be a whole new trial?
I don't think so. I think they're trying to sweep this under the rug as soon as possible. Nobody's talking. We're not going to get any names. People have forgotten about the black book that we're never going to see, that apparently several copies existed next to each telephone in the mansion. You know, we're never going to see any of that. And people have forgotten about it. They're talking about COVID. They're talking about Ukraine. They're talking about whatever else is going on. And they're not talking about this anymore. So I think that the judge is going to say, nope, trial stands. And then that's it. It's going to be over. And 6 months from now, nobody's going to remember her name.
Yeah. I don't know, because I think that there's good, like, we still remember Epstein's name. We still see the Epstein didn't kill himself memes anymore. They're fewer and further between than they used to be, but we still see them every once in a while.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But, I mean, one of the things that goes with that, too, is... my big question is this guy going to think back to his past sexual trauma and just decides he can't live on this planet anymore. Wink.
Almost definitely. Almost definitely.
All right, speaking of people who are coming under fire here, Kimberly Guilfoyle, the next Mrs. Donald Trump Jr., apparently, she met with the January 6th Selfie Fest committee and decided now that she doesn't want to talk to them at all, what she's being subpoenaed for. Guilfoyle, a longtime advisor of the president, was scheduled to meet virtually with the committee on February 25th following discussions between the committee and her lawyers. 4 people familiar with Friday's exchange requested anonymity, but they said when Guilfoyle appeared on Friday's virtual meeting, she and her lawyers grew immediately concerned when they saw who else was on the call, including Adam Schiff and Jamie Raskin. So this was apparently supposed to be just a call between lawyers to lawyers, and then there's Schiff and Raskin right there.
Yeah, nobody should be on a lawyer-to-lawyer call ever. Well, I mean, maybe not ever, but, you know, that's not how the law works usually.
So these people showed up. She told them, no, we're not doing this anymore. She bolted and said, this isn't my understanding, and now they are going to subpoena her.
I don't know exactly how all this works. Like, does she have to talk if they subpoena her? Or can she just, like, plead the fifth, for instance?
Well, she can do that, and it also looks like a lot of people have looked at the congressional subpoena and said, well, you can go and fuck yourself.
Yeah, as people should say, especially over January 6th bullshit. Everyone knows it's bullshit. Both sides know it's bullshit, and they're still trying to keep this alive. They're trying to keep it alive.
It's for campaign points at this point. There is no other reason behind it.
They're keeping it alive till midterms for sure. They're going to probably try to keep it alive till the next election, but I don't think they'll be able to. It's all going to be settled by then.
All right. 2 more, then we'll head out of here. One that should have been a main story this week, but, you know, with Ukraine, we couldn't find time for it. From the BBC, ex-police officers guilty in George Floyd's death. The 3 ex-Minneapolis policemen present at the death of George Floyd denied the unarmed black man of his civil rights a jury has found. Tao Thao, J. Alexander Ewing, and Thomas Lane all testified in their own defense in the trial, and prosecutors are recommending 25 years for each, which is longer than Chauvin got.
How is the guy who was doing crowd control guilty of murder? How on God's green earth is the crowd control guy just as guilty as Derek Chauvin? This is ridiculous. It makes me furious. This is all political. These guys should not be in jail at all. And if anybody still lives in Minnesota, you need to get the fuck out of there, because if you do the littlest thing wrong, and they're going to prosecute you because of who you are. So you just need to get out of there. I can't believe with this going on that there's any cops left at all in Minneapolis. If I was a Minneapolis police officer right now seeing this bullshit, I would be out of there so fast. I'd rather be a cop on the west side of Chicago, for Christ's sake. Sorry, I got a little heated.
Well, I mean, at this point, I'd rather be a cop on the fucking south side.
I never hung out on the south side. The west side's pretty scary.
Yeah, I'd rather be a cop on the south side than go and be in Hennepin County, because one misstep, they're not even going to fuck around. I would have possibly still thought about it and taken it to trial as Potter did, but after the Potter verdict of, again, a severely overcharged case, I just said, nope, we're pleading this one out.
So overcharged. It's ridiculous. These poor men. I feel so bad for them.
But they are on a civil rights violation.
And they still, they did the federal trial before the state trial, so they could get even more. And it's almost better. Like, if this is going to happen to them anyway, it's almost better that they have these federal charges, because the federal charges trump the state charges, because we know Minnesota's going to find them guilty. Like, there's no way Minnesota's not going to find them guilty the way Minnesota is. But if they're going to have to spend time in a prison, it's better that it's a federal prison.
Yeah.
From what I understand, I've never been to either kind of prison because I'm an innocent angel. So, but from what I hear, federal prison's the place to be if you're going to have to be in prison.
Well, That's what we see off that. And the last one, which we'll just touch briefly on for this, because we'll be talking definitely more about this tomorrow. From Politico, squad member to deliver a response to Biden's State of the Union. So it is tradition that when a president gives a State of the Union, a member of the opposite party gives a rebuttal to the State of the Union. We saw that during Trump's States of the Union, with Stacey Abrams and Gretchen Whitmer both. We saw this with Biden's. I believe it was Kristi Noem gave the last one, the response to this. And I believe it is the governor of Iowa that's going to be giving the rebuttal this year. I would have to double check on that to make sure. I know she's from the woman who's doing it is from Iowa. I know that for sure. I think it's the governor, but I'm not sure. But the progressive side of the Democratic Party is also giving a rebuttal this year.
Really interesting.
Reading from here, member of the Liberal Squad is delivering a formal response to President Biden's State of the Union address on Tuesday. In the speech given on behalf of the left-wing group Working Families Party, Representative Rashida Tlaib is expected to hammer moderate Democrats who have stymied Biden's social spending and climate change package.
They're fracturing, and they're fracturing right in front of my eyes. Yeah, this is good. This is good for us because the more that they try to form two parties out of the left, the better it is for the right. Because it's going to split the voters. Maybe they'll have a third party candidate, which would be great for us.
No, Nancy Pelosi will put a stop to that before anything. Looks like Tlaib is set to argue that Republicans and a handful of intransigent Democrats have blocked progress on lowering the cost of housing, healthcare, and prescription drugs. And by the way, if we can find that televised after all this, I don't know if you'll be able to stick around, but I'm watching that fucker. I want to see what that sounds like.
I mean, I guess it'll depend on how late it is, but yeah, I would like to see that too.
So we will see if they're going at the same time as the Republican rebuttal. Fuck that woman. We're gonna watch this woman instead.
Yeah,
that's more entertaining to me.
Yes.
All right, but that's what we see off of that. Looks like you are making plans in the chat here right now, so I'm gonna look at some live chat here.
Thank you. I have to text my husband my dinner order. He's on his way home.
Plans in the chat. Quest Fanning is here. Shared to my 11.4 thousand Twitter followers. Name drop. Only 1% is bots. Fanning says German board games are cool. Franny won her first game of Catan against an experienced 8-year-old and her 15-year-old sister this weekend. I don't know what Catan is. Never tried it. I would probably. Beat me up, Mr. Scott says you got sheep for wood. I don't know what that means. Let's see. I did have to mute somebody for a little while, unfortunately. I don't like to do it, but once you start going into the edge of racial slurs and Twitch is muting you, I gotta put a stop to some of this here. So thank you for checking us out. SWA33ER. Yeah, but unfortunately we had to do that one. Let's see. There are joggers around here. Yeah, stuff that I can't read here, unfortunately. Beat me up, Mr. Scott says he's going to get whoopee hush money. There you go. Nailbender is here on the D-Live side. Do I need to pop over to Twitch? And Nailbender is now modded on Twitch as well, so thank you. Quest is too, by the way. Shalaga is here. Hey, Ed and Zed Heads. Shalaga, you got to chill out on that too, by the way. For the same reason. Because remember, it goes to all three chats. I know it's a type of cigarette in the UK, but still. Beat me up, Mr. Scott says that's sneaky because it gives the bill the financial motivation by healthcare businesses. Not sure what that went to. Nailbender says, I'm more right-leaning, but sex ed is important, especially with the super diseases rolling out these days. And, I understand that too. And there are certain parents that are not responsible enough to go back and do that, but still, this should all be starting at the home to begin with.
Absolutely.
Let's see. July says, my sex ed in public school was a semester of anticipating the gonorrhea slideshow. Fucking gross. Nailbender says electric cars are more dangerous environmentally than fossil fuels currently, which is true. We will probably get there on technology at some point here, but we're not there yet.
Yep.
Beam me up, Mr. Scott says fake red hair. Let's see. What else do we have here? Quest says they were building DeLoreans in Florida using spare parts for a much larger anticipation of need for spare parts. Yeah, John DeLorean that was actually a fun car to drive too. I've driven one once. It's a lot of fun.
I think I saw a DeLorean when I was in Cuba a few years back. And it was like I did a double take because there's a lot of old cars there, and that was like the newest. Like that was a new car compared to what they have there.
Yeah. Fanning says there's no way there's going to be another trial. I don't know. Subway order.
I've texted to him.
Plans in the chat. Fanning says problem is that when you end up in a federal prison, it's usually exclusively for a long stint, which is also true, by the way. Let's see. The centrist Democrats are leaving the radical DNC soon anyway. Fanning says, sex ed, don't dip your wick if you're at all worried. Know that rule.
I'm glad you're reading these chats.
And I think that is where we're going to jump back off of here, and that's where we're going to go back into this. So we have got a lot to talk about, definitely. And I've pulled up a map of the Ukraine, because we'll probably be referring to that, and the rest of Europe as well is up there right now, because there is a lot of stuff to go over. There is a buttload of stuff to go over.
I'm going to pull up a map on my other screen, too, just so I'm prepared. Not that I can pronounce any of the towns over there.
Yeah, when did we stop saying Kiev and start saying Kiev?
We don't. We say Kiev because we're American and we speak American.
So, as of Tuesday morning, we are in a full-scale invasion. Was it Tuesday? Did I have the right day? Let me look at that. Because I remember it was the 24th, because that was symbolic. That was Thursday, I'm sorry. Not Tuesday. As of Thursday, Russia, full-scale on, invaded the Ukraine. This comes after a couple days of teasing, will they, won't they? Russia did come out and recognize the two breakaway regions, which the entire mainstream media has forgotten the name of by this point. They haven't talked about them since it stopped being fashionable. But that was the first side of this, is that Russia recognized them and started putting what they called peacekeeping troops into these areas. And that was on Tuesday and into Wednesday. And then on Thursday, the full-scale invasion started. By Friday, there were advances going on to Kiev and were rocket attacks onto Kiev. And additionally, there was a contested airport that was first taken by Russians and then taken by Ukrainians. We have a lot of footage of the bombs that we're going to come back and see. A large amount of sanctions have come out from the EU and the US, which Putin has mostly shrugged off at this point. Given the position he's in, I can't blame him because they're kind of useless and they're kind of worthless. And for the most part, this has very, very much polarized a lot of people, which I think is the intended purpose for this. I don't trust a lot of what's going on here. But the big news I want to start with is what you started with when I was talking about this on Contemporary this morning is a lot of us don't believe a word of what's coming back out of this. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how you feel about that?
It's all bullshit.
You cited some examples, though, this morning.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
I'm a lot smarter in the morning time. It's a little late for me now. No, there was it's thing after thing that I'm seeing this weekend, but the big one that I can think of right now it's just one that I can think of right now, is that that island with those 13 guys who said, yeah, fuck you Russians or whatever. That's all bullshit. They have photos of these guys in custody. The Russians took them into custody. They didn't blow them up or anything like that. Like was said. And from what I understand, Russia's saying that back and forth never even happened. It's just some recording that some, Ukrainians or somebody made in their basement and put it over, and put it out as propaganda. But they did take over that island, and Russia took those guys as POWs or whatever, but they're alive and fine. And there was like 36 of them, not 18.
Hold on a sec. I gotta go set something up here. I don't think